Hey guys, it's Alex
And Lila.
and we are co-founders of Temperament Dogs More Than Residential Training. And today we are answering your questions. And the question is,
How to make sure that leaving your dog without you is not stressful.
and that can be, on different situations. You may need to leave your dog for when you are going for holidays, but also you can be leaving your dog for residential training, or you can go on holidays and then
Leave the dog
for residential training. And how we can make sure that is not stressful for the dog. So what would you say, Lilo? What are the things that we have to pay attention to, especially if it's a new place? Because if the dog knows the place and knows the person, or you're just living with, I don't know, your parents, it's fine. Probably the dog is comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a totally new place, the dog can be just simply surprised. Why am I,
Staying somewhere.
why am I left over here? Mommy, why are you leaving me? So how to make sure that the dog has very positive experience?
Well, we can catch it from the training point of view and generally preparation when you have a puppy, to make sure that there are situations where the puppy, first of all, is left without you.
Mm-hmm.
Regularly, even for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour. So it's not a surprising thing for them that you're not there next to them 24/7, as well as just preparing the puppy to be left with someone. And it's very important to realize that if dog doesn't have any sort of experience with being left alone, and there was possibly a situation where they were left at the vets, this is what they're going to remember. So it's very important to actually create positive experience for our dogs, for our puppies, that they are somewhere and it's nice and fun and it's a totally positive experience.
That point about the vets is very, very accurate, because if your dog never been left with someone that the dog doesn't know before, and you will just leave them at the vets, it's a little bit of the shocker. And very often they will build that association with the place. This is where my mommy or my daddy left me and I felt left. Right? That's why in Temperament Dogs, whenever we are getting our trainees for residential training, we have
Protocol.
very
Very strict
protocol how we are making sure the dog gets a very positive experience and will not create that bad association with the place. So the first thing is we go for a bonding walk, right? We don't. It's never that you bring the dog and you just leave the dog at the trainer's house and the dog feels like, oh my God, mommy left me here, because obviously then there is that little risk that the dog will have that association with the place, and the dog will be staying in that place for longer. This is why we go for the bonding walk, where the dog can be build very quick bond or get used to the trainer, but also we are doing that in totally neutral place.
So that's a very important point, that we some owners have asked for dropping the dog off at our homes. We are happy to show how our home looks like, and that's no problem at all. But because of how the dog looks at certain things, we always meet up somewhere else. We bond with the dog on a walk. We can give them treats, play a little bit, walk together, or anything like that. And then without the owners, we take the dogs to our homes and we allow them to get accustomed to the new place.
And usually, sorry to interrupt, is usually oh, this is my new home.
Yeah. They usually are actually quite excited, and they're like, oh, what's happening here? Oh, there are some other dogs here. Or maybe, I have a cat. So it's oh, there's a cat here. So they're actually more exploring. They are I literally maybe had 1 or 2 dogs that were worried, but they were just nervous dogs in general. So that was a totally different story. All 99% of dogs, they just come into my house and woo, I'm on a holiday.
Also, another thing what is worth to mention is how you are leaving your dog. So we don't recommend to do like excessive goodbyes. Like if you like it's usually it's a little bit harder for the owners than for the dog. I have to say, like usually
Yes.
the owners are much more emotional about the whole situation than the dogs. But we don't recommend to make like very excessive goodbyes where the dog is like, oh my God, I get so cuddles, like mommy suddenly loves me even like more. And then
We don't
they're
want
being,
it. Yeah.
being left, right? So we always advise just to, let's go for a walk. Let's make it very relaxing. I will walk as long as I feel it's needed, right? Because if the dog, usually it's never a case that the dog never met the trainer before because we meet on the assessments, we meet probably at least one time before or even more before the drop-off date, right? So it's never like the strange person, but we go for a walk. Once the dog is, like at some point I will take the lead. And when the dog is comfortable with that, we walk a little bit longer and so on and so on. And then at some point, we want the owner to disappear without saying excessive goodbye.
Goodbyes,
So it's
yeah.
like, oh, like you've been here and you are not, but it's still fine, right?
Exactly. And we definitely don't want our dogs to be suspicious of the situation. So if
Yeah.
the goodbye is too excessive and we are quite emotional, of course they can feel emotions as well. So if we are behaving very differently to what we normally behave,
Yeah.
they might actually feel that there's something weird happening there.
But also like that not excessive goodbyes, like the rule is also recommended with separation anxiety training, or that can create some separations issues that necessarily, saying goodbye to your dog will make them anxious, but that can create sort of
Yeah, it might.
issues like that. So the first thing what I always advise to the owners is just don't say excessive hellos and don't say excessive goodbyes, and we follow that rule as well when our trainees are dropped off for residential stay.
And like, I know that some owners are very worried, especially during the first 24 hours. But well, if the dog is staying with us with Temperament Dogs, we do update very quickly with pictures and with a little update how the dog has settled in. So you don't have to worry. You're going to see your dog very soon on a picture, and we're going to let you know how everything's going.
So usually after you disappear, the trainer will take the dog for a further walk, and when everything is fine and they bonded, they're like all happy, then they're bringing the dog into their homes. And then, like I said, then probably at this point you can expect some updates, or at least how the dog slept for the first night, were the dog comfortable, and so on, which is usually like I never had like experience with the dog that wouldn't like to settle in. Usually if that protocol
It's
proves
very
to be
easy.
it's very easy but very effective, and it just makes the whole experience very, very positive.